Boom! 5 whole minutes late. I tell you, life is unpredictable, is what it is. Tell me in the comments below, guys, if you can hear me loud and clear. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm over here at my office at Simoson Building, and it's very hot outside today, I must tell you. Scorching. Now, just so you guys know, I was prepared. I was getting ready to press live. Then right there in that moment, Bo, love you. Thank you for being with me. Please tell me, Bo, if I'm loud and clear. You know, these mics, this is the reason I love Rode. Rode is so perfect. All of these other mics pale into utter insignificance. They really do. Loud and clear, I'm so thankful. But I was going to say, I was in the middle of explaining exactly what was going down. I was getting ready to press live, and then in that very moment, I realized that I didn't have my glasses. And there is nothing worse than not knowing where you put your glasses, because you now start running around like a headless chicken, not knowing where they are. So I went from here, I went to the dining room, I went to my other office there, I started rummaging. And then I started panicking. I thought, you know what, these guys on Facebook are just going to think that I'm not serious. And right when I was about to give up, boom, they were right under my nose. And so I grabbed them. This is the reason you need 2 pairs of glasses, okay, for such a time as this. When you run through things like this, you need a backup, for goodness sake. Okay, you can't put all of your glasses in one basket. You know what? I don't think this collar's right, you know. Honestly, really, I don't think this collar's working. It's a bit lopsided. Goodness. How are you, Albert? Hello, you are late. We can hear you very loud and clear. Luwale says we're late. Guys, let's talk about it. Please do me a favor. Please share this live. You look smart today. John Panther. You really think so? Yeah? Well, I'm at work. I'm over here at the office. The only thing, though, is that I don't think this collar is straight, you know. I mean, there's nothing worse than a collar that's lopsided. Hello? Can I get a witness? Anybody out there? No? Nobody. Well, guys, listen, here's the thing. Early this morning, my wife and I started watching the Mike Tyson fight. And it was scheduled, it was slated for 3 a.m. Central African time. And I must tell you, and of course there were 3 bouts, okay, bouts. There were 3 fights prior to the main event, which was Mike Tyson. We didn't watch those other ones because, you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, for goodness sake. Who's going to be sitting watching some other fighters apart from Tyson and Jake? Anyway. A few hours later, finally, the boxing match, you know, the anticipation of it. And it reminded me of my childhood. You know, when I was a kid, we used to have a maid by the name of Esnat. She worked with our family for more than 22 years. She was like our second mother. She was wonderful. And she was so kind to us. But she was a huge boxing fan. You know, my whole family loved Muhammad Ali. In those days, the big fighter was Ali. And I'll never forget, of course, this was in the days before the internet, in the days before wireless and streaming and all that jazz. But she would wake us up early in the morning to watch Muhammad Ali. You know, she lived on the property. She had her own house, but on the same property. This was on Nangwenya Road. For those of you that know Nangwenya Road, there was a house in the back and she was there with her family. But because she loved to watch Ali in the main house on a TV set, she would wake us up and we would all get up. Myself and my brothers, my 2 brothers would wake up and we would watch Muhammad Ali. And for years, we did this. So I remember the anticipation of Ali walking into the auditorium. And you remember Ali, he was so beautiful, so magnificent. He was like a force of nature. and it almost seemed he was floating. It looked like he was floating on his way to the ring. So I remember that feeling of anticipation. And it's that way with every heavyweight bout for me. Every big one that's got good big names. You know, when Tyson walked in, Jake Paul walked in, that air of anticipation was so palpable, you could reach out and grab it. You could reach out and touch it. Finally, they do the rules, and then they start, battling. In the first few minutes of the first round, Tyson he seemed formidable. He was bobbing and weaving, and he was jabbing. He landed a couple of punches, but as soon as we got to the last portion of the first round, Jake Paul dominated. He dominated all the way to the 8th round. But I tell you, and I know I wrote about this earlier, but it's worth mentioning. One of the most poignant, one of the most beautiful moments in boxing history was the last 10 seconds of the 8th round. Toe-to-toe, Jake Paul with Mike Tyson. Jake recognized that he had dominated the fight. He knew in that moment that he had won the fight, and he didn't want to belabor the point. He looked at Tyson, and in an act of utter reverence, Jake Paul dropped his hands. Now, and as you know, in boxing, the number one rule is protect yourself at all times. Never think for one moment that if you let down your guard, your opponent will let you get away with it. Oh no. Never, but Bruce Lee used to say, never take your eyes off your opponent. In the same vein, by the same token, never drop your hands in front of your opponent. But in that moment, Jake Paul dropped both of his hands in recognition, respect, reverence, and awe, utter admiration. And he slowly bowed as if to say, thank you, Mike Tyson, for giving me this opportunity to be in this ring with you. And in that moment, instead of Mike Tyson attacking Jake Paul, sensing blood, seeing a moment, a crack, a kink in the armor, Mike Tyson absorbed that moment, and he recognized Jake Paul's reverence for him. Woo! Boy, I tell you, I turned to my wife and I started tearing up a bit. My wife looked at me and she said, "What's up with you? It's a boxing match, dear. It's not a love story that's gone bad. Okay, it's two men fighting in the ring. There's nothing to cry about." So anyway, I love that fight, and it was very telling, and I'm happy for both of them. I really am. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I see Dr. Nevis Mumba's watching. Dr. Nevis Mumba, my uncle, whom I love so much. I love you so much. It's so good to see you. I'm constantly having to adjust my collar. Okay, let's get into it. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. The first thing is GBM. You guys remember that the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, otherwise known as the EFCC, has for the second time refused to grant bail pending appeal to jailed former Defense Minister Geoffrey Mwamba, popularly known as GBM. Now, the court seems to believe that his appeal against the 5-year jail term imposed on him has no prospect of success. When a court says that to you, do you know what that means? When the court says, look, we've seen your appeal, but we've turned it down because your appeal has no prospect of success. What that means is it is highly unlikely that your sentence will be overturned. It's highly unlikely that you will get the result that you're looking for. It's highly unlikely that this court will change its mind. That's where GBM is. And it's a sad, horrible place to be. Now, given his health, you and I would think that his health would sort of be a good reason to give him bail. But this is what the court said. The court said you cannot be granted bail solely on the reality of your ill health. The court can't say to you, yeah, you've proven to us you're not well, you're sick, you're unwell, but we can't grant you bail purely based on that. It has to be something more convincing than that. And I must share something with you. Many of you know that I was at Mwembeshi, and GBM is at Mwembeshi right now. I spent 6 days in Mwembeshi for a crime that I was accused of slashing bus tires and all, and we've appealed, and I've been released on bail pending appeal. And while I was in Mwembeshi 6 days, I spent 6 days there, and I must tell you, the guards, the commissioner, there's a commissioner there, Commissioner Mwangala. I'll never forget him. First time I got there, he called me into his office. He has this beautiful office there in Mwembeshi. He says to me, he says, "Mwewa, come in, sit down. I got a few words to sort of impart to you." He looked at me, Commissioner Mwangala, and he said, "Mr. Mwewa, all of us have different paths that go in different directions. Sometimes those paths intersect. You being here is not an accident. It's not a mistake. It simply means your path has led you here. Whilst you are here, Mwewa, learn what you can from this institution, and in the same vein, by the same token, this institution will learn what it can from you. So go out there, Mwewa, and be a model citizen." And I found those words encouraging. I really did. He was very kind to me, you know. And in the process of being there 6 days, I did get to know a few guards and all. So the other day, one of the guards, okay, he came here to see me at the office. And we started chatting and talking, and hey, oh, shaba shad, you know. Oh, you know what it is? Oh my goodness. It's my, sorry guys, I have to, sorry about that. I have to switch. There we go. Are we still good? Just give me a moment. I'm trying to suss it out. The battery went dead on this one, so I have to put my phone on the other one. Okay, are we good? Yeah? All right. We're good. So what was I saying? Remind me in the comments. Sorry, my battery died. So one of the guards, we're good, continue. One of the guards came to see me from Mwembeshi, and right here at Simoson building, and we were talking, and I asked him, I said, "How's GBM doing?" He says, "Well, you know what? He's not doing too well. GBM is not doing very well in terms of health." And of course, anyone that's unwell, anyone that's sick, we wish the best. And it's just that the circumstances are what they are. And we wish GBM the best. Alrighty. Secondly, Bowman Lusambo. Bowman, you know, when Bowman was first arrested, I must tell you, remember the first couple of days that we heard that Bowman had been arrested, there was a photograph, and tell me in the comments if you remember this. There was a photograph that was circulating around, social media. It depicted, this is when the news broke out that, he had been discovered hiding, concealing himself in the ceiling of his house. And they sort of fished him out, and they cobwebbed him out of the ceiling. And there was a photograph that showed him crying. And a few people were around him, and they had their hands on him in an act of like consolation. They were trying to console him. And on the other hand, it looked like they were there to apprehend him. Tell me in the comments if you remember that photograph. And there's a reason I'm bringing that up. There's a reason I'm talking about that. There's a reason I've brought that up. Tell me in the comments if you remember that. I remember, Ellie said. Now, in that first few hours of that photograph being published, the Zambian people felt empathy for Bowman. Would you agree with that? Because when I looked at that photograph, my heart went out to him. I felt empathy. I felt sorry for him. I did. And in the court of public opinion, the public seemed to feel some type of way about him. But this is where he messed it up. And this is where Bowman doesn't seem to get it. Do you remember that? You remember when you saw that picture? Tell me how you felt in the comments. Tell me how you first felt when you saw that photograph of Bowman sobbing, and he was crying. He had his hands cupped in his he had his face cupped in his hands, and he was sobbing. Remember that? Remember how that photograph made you feel? And then Bowman pulled a 180. I was going to say 360. 180. He messed it up. The next time we saw Bowman was when he started pumping his fist in the air and started saying, we are coming to get this country. We're coming in 2026. We're coming to get the country. We're coming to get it. All of that sympathy just went out of the window. Do you remember that? Tell me if that's how you felt. Tell me if that's how you felt. When the moment he started showing that braggadocious and prideful self about himself, all of that sympathy went out the window. Why? Because people don't like people that boast. When you are in the face of adversity, when you know that the odds are stacked up against you, when you know that there is no chance in hell for you to escape the quandary, the quagmire, the juxtaposition you're in, there is no way that you can break yourself loose from this tight corner that you're in. And what do? You start to showboat. Yeah, we're coming to get that poke charo. Yeah, imwe bushana muria. Have you eaten? Okay, you're going to eat in 2026. Panamudi nsala. So 2024 tamwakalie, 2025 tamwakalie, mu 2026 ele mukadia. Kabli you are coming back. So the hunger you are feeling now, between now and 2026, you are not going to eat anything until me and the ECO come back. Then tukachipoka echalo, and then ngatoa chipoka ele mukamba nombo okulia. He just messed it up. No moral compass whatsoever. No sense of centrality. No sense of being aware, reading the room. Ngapali bo muntu ushaishi wokushita read room ni Bowman. Bowman had the public's sympathy with that photograph. Instead of having people advising him, kuti Bowman, iyi picture ibachita release, abantu bakumfilo oluse. Ichefye, humble yourself. Our sugar, let's fear to arise a mupoke charo, ere imota mwakalie mpaka 2026. Oh, it's very sad. It really is. Now, the other thing that I find sad is that, Bowman's 4 houses have been deemed proceeds of crime, as you know. And the 4 houses are part of the properties which earned him a 4-year jail sentence. Now, let me tell you what's amazing about this case. What Bowman did was that he registered these properties in his wife's name. Okay, you know his wife? You know his wife's name? Her name is Nancy Manasseh. Remember his wife? Remember how he talked about his wife? Have you seen my wife? Have you seen her? The perfume that my wife wears can pay lentils for someone. Lentils? Bowman. What the hell, man? Lentils? Yeah. Have you seen my wife? You know, the perfume that my wife wears can pay lentils for someone. Lentils? Bowman, can you read the word rentals? Does that resonate with you in any way? No? No? It's rentals, Bowman. Okay, not lentils. Lentils and chimbi. Anyway, I digress. So Bowman's got property in Silverest Gardens. One of his properties is estimated. It's worth 17 million kwacha. Now, there's nothing wrong with owning property worth 17 million kwacha. And here's what I find interesting about Bowman's situation. The lady that Bowman referred to as his wife, and he lauded her. You know the word lauded? You know, lauded, not lorded, lauded. He showered her with praise. He registered those properties in her name. But guess what happened? When this matter went to court and the court asked her, guess what? Nancy Manasseh, his wife, guess what she said? She said, I'm not aware. I know nothing about these properties being registered in my name. He didn't tell me a thing. Bowman is crazy as hell. Had he told me that the properties were in my name, I would have told you. But Mr. Court, Mr. Magistrate, I want you to know that I had not the faintest, foggiest idea that all of these properties were placed in my name. I know nothing. I know nothing. So if you're going to arrest my husband, you need to go ahead and do that. But if you're going to arrest me, I plead the fifth. I know nothing. I know nothing. Have you seen my wife? Well, just her perfume is enough to pay lentils for someone. The same woman who in court says, I know nothing about this property. My husband is crazy as hell. How the hell is he going to put property in my name and I know nothing about it? You see how crazy it gets? You see how gluey it gets? It's crazy, man. So here it is. My point was this. There's nothing wrong, and there is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with owning property. And this is just one of his properties. It's not, he's got like 4 or 5 houses. One of his properties worth 17 million. There's nothing wrong with owning property worth 17 million. If you can show, demonstrate, and justify the method you use to acquire that property, especially if you were in government. But there's everything wrong with you owning property worth 17 million and your income only amounts to about 6 million kwacha, accumulatively. His National Assembly allowances and his work and blah, blah, blah. You put all that together, the court deduced that you only earn 6 million bucks. But you've got property, multiple properties worth more than 17 million kwacha. Red flag. Red flag. So the court said, hey, Bowman, you can't explain this. That puts you at a very big disadvantage. Do you see where this is going? Do you now see that Bowman is in a position now where he may lose all of his property? I asked the guard, the guard that came to see me? Earlier, I was sharing with you that one of the guards from Mwembeshi prison, where I served for 6 days, he came to see me. And I asked him in conversation, I said to him, I said, you know, Bowman's got 7 years on the books. How many years do you think he's going to do? You know what the guard said to me? He said he's going to be there for at least 4 years. 4 years plus. Notwithstanding, there are other cases on his account. These aren't the only 2 cases. Honey, when it rains, it pours. And my heart goes out to Bowman. I mean, of course, this is not the end of him, but this is a huge, big blow, because essentially he's going to go back to square one. In Zambia, we say square one. If he does lose his properties and he spends more than 4 years in prison, when he comes out, he's going to have to start from zero. It's a horrible place to be, but sometimes our actions take us where we are. That's a nugget I've just given you there. That's just dropped in my heart. I didn't even think about that. You know, sometimes we end up where we are because of our foolishness, because of the bad choices that we make. You know, God give us men and women that wake up in the morning and say, Lord, help me make good choices. Help me make better choices. Help me not make choices that place me and my family in harm's way. That's basically what it is. All right. Somebody says, looking good, Ms. Mwewa. Thank you so much. Well, hey guys, thank you for watching. Sorry about that gaffe earlier. It happens sometimes. God bless. You have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday.